There's an organization that you referred to called CAIR, C-A-I-R, Council on American-Islamic Relations. And that's the organization that gets most of the press. Whenever there's an issue about Islam to be discussed, the press, the media run immediately to CAIR for information. Why is that? Why don't you have a seat at that table?
That's a great question. Couple things. So first is the fact that the Council on American-Islamic Relations, which as the Holy Land Foundation trial that put all of their board members, I think, in jail for supporting Hamas back in 2008 because they were funding Hamas contrary to American law.
Yes, because Hamas then, even and still now, is identified as a terrorist organization.
Exactly. So CAIR was basically Hamas in 1993. They had a Philadelphia meeting that the FBI documents showed that they're a unindicted co-conspirator in that trial, and Nihad Awad, Omar Ahmed, a lot of the founders were basically Palestinian immigrants that came here in order to use Western freedoms to found this organization. They found that they got limited traction on their Palestinian cause because they originally were the Islamic Association of Palestine. They then transformed their name into supposedly caring about all Muslims, and they basically began a hijacking of the Muslim community into the Palestinian movement. No different than if you look, every Arab Muslim dictator, when they're on the ropes, start caring about Palestinians. Saddam Hussein did it as the American army was invading Baghdad. He started saying he cared about Palestinians, etc. You see Al Jazeera from Qatar do it all the time, demonizing the West based on the Palestinian issue. CAIR supposedly is about the rights of Muslims. They fabricate a lot of the issues that are related to Muslim freedoms in America, in which we are actually not as much at risk as they think we are. They ignore the actual groups that are at risk, like the Jewish community that have many more incidents of antisemitism and other embedded real bigoted incidents that occur. But they use victimization in order to deflect the reality of our responsibility of what we as American Muslims should be focusing on, which is countering radicalization. And I've gone head-to-head with them in debates, not only in national media, but at mosques. And it came to a head in 2011 when Peter King from New York was chair of the Homeland Security Committee in the House, had hearings on radicalization in the Muslim community, and he had myself, Ezra Nomani, and a number of other Muslim leaders that are reformists that we had built in our Muslim reform movement testify to what's wrong with the CAIRs of the world, why they were actually radicalizing our community, and how the Nidal Hassans of the world, who was a army doctor, was working with Al-Qaeda while he was supposedly treating patients at Walter Reed, carrying around a card that he said he was soldier of Allah, and then murdered 14 people at Fort Hood, injured 35, and was an Al-Qaeda operative that was talking to imams around the world that were targeting America. So how does this radicalization happen? He came from a Palestinian family that had actually attended some CAIR events in Washington. And I talk about this in my book, how the conveyor belt of radicalization doesn't just start all of a sudden where the Nidal Hassans of the world one night is a nice psychiatrist and the next day is a radical Al-Qaeda guy. It starts with, you're a victim, DEI. It starts with, okay, once you're a victim, then you...
Who's the enemy?
Who's the enemy? Who's the villain? America's the problem. They hate us. Then you must attack them. You must protect your family. And the only way to do it is by asynchronous warfare. And then you become a soldier, and you become a jihadi, and then you commit an act of terror and you work with the operatives globally. This is how radicalization happens. The first step, which is where the largest pool is Council on American-Islamic Relations, Muslim Public Affairs. A lot of these organizations that are Muslim Brotherhood legacy groups are what really, if you really want to, it's like working against drug abuse. You can work against the heroin addicts that have needles in their arms, or you can work against those who start using marijuana, alcoholism, other drugs that are gateway drugs into. The gateway drug into radical Islam and Al-Qaeda is political Islamic organizations.